Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Every Calorie Counts podcast. Today we have this special guest, our good friend Elias McCall, IFBB Pro. We're going to go into his journey and just chat. Hey, Elias, what's up?
Going on, guys?
Going on, brother. So listen, we appreciate you coming on. And like Marita says, obviously we have a little bit of a background with Elias. He was close to us for a while, although he and Liana just packed up and moved, I guess, halfway across the country, right? It's kind of like it's across the country in some way or shape or form.
It's
Yeah,
halfway.
All the way down.
Halfway across the country.
from New
Well,
Jersey.
no, well, think about it. It's
halfway.
halfway both ways, right?
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
halfway across and it's fucking straight all the way down. You know what I mean? Like he's closer to Mexico now than he is fucking Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So, so have you, first and foremost, I want to know about that. Have you met any cartel members, right? Have you started snorting cocaine to fit in with these cartel members? Any M16s that you've purchased recently, and or legitimately though, how is the area? How much do you like it so far? What's it been like?
Dude, it's been great. I will say Jersey did have its negative shit that I didn't like about it, but Jersey had a lot of good things about it. Like it's good with bodybuilding. There's a big community there. Maybe most of it wasn't like good competitors, but like there's a big bodybuilding community there.
Yeah.
I liked having Aries there. That was great. Pat's awesome. They had great gyms. Jersey did have a lot of good gyms. It was just
More densely populated.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely more densely populated, and the community wasn't great. Like obviously not bodybuilding community, but like just the whole like Jersey community wasn't
The
that great.
people.
Yeah, but there was things I like. I still miss about it, but I'm liking it down here in Texas a lot. Bodybuilding community is huge. I got a lot of good friends here already here.
Yeah.
Stu's moving down here. Elliot's moving here, I think, beginning of the year, next year. Him and his girlfriend are going to move here. So a lot of people moving here, a lot of people already here. It actually is pretty populated in Fort Worth. I would say where I'm at is definitely more suburbs. Because I'm
Right.
kind of like, if you're looking at the map where it says Fort Worth, I'm a little bit north of that, in Watauga. And then if you go more east, obviously I could be over in Dallas in like 40 minutes. If there's no
Yeah.
traffic. Traffic here is freaking insane.
Is it?
Yeah.
I worry about traffic. Like people think they know about traffic in Jersey and they go somewhere
No,
else. It's like, dude, you don't
no.
even understand
In
traffic.
Jersey, there's
Like,
no traffic compared to
yeah.
here. It's
But
What?
and
insane.
that's the thing. Honestly, people think that there's traffic in Jersey. I'm like, there's literally like if you hit traffic in Jersey because you hit an accident and like it came to a dead stop for a while, but otherwise there's no real
There's
traffic in
traffic at
Jersey
like
compared to other.
if you're
Go ahead.
driving more like to South Jersey during if you're
Oh
driving
yeah, that's true. That's
if you're
true. I
driving
guess
there
like
during like 3, 4, 5 p.m., there's going to be a lot of
yeah.
traffic, but it's still not like Dallas traffic. Dallas
Yeah,
traffic.
see, that's like probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours from us before you hit traffic, like going towards like Philly, you know what I mean? Or up
Yep.
towards the city, like trying to get into the city. But like we're Marine and I are like smack dab in the fucking middle of Jersey, where
You
it's
guys are
like, yeah.
suburbs, basically. You guys are
See,
suburbs.
I would say that could be the next thing that I was gonna say. You said suburbs down there, right? Would you say, and this has always been a thing for me too with Jersey, like I don't feel like people really comprehend what suburbs means in Jersey because I'm not from Jersey originally. I'm from Virginia. I lived in Florida for a period of time. I didn't make it to Jersey until I was a little bit older. But it's, for me, suburbs like in Florida is like, dude, there's nothing there besides houses. It's like the block, you go over here, it's like block to block to block is all the same. It's just houses. Like the last place I lived in Florida was Point Siena, Florida, and like there was literally nothing there except for a Walmart, a Subway, and like a liquor store, and anything else took you like 45 minutes to get to.
Okay,
Is
so you
it
live
more
in the
just like
sticks, bro.
no, it wasn't really state. That was to me, that's the suburbs. Like if you go anywhere else, same thing in Virginia, like where my parents live and shit, or where my aunts, uncles, and grandparents live and everything. It's all just fucking houses, and then you drive like 20 minutes to a Food Lion, and that's like the only thing that's around there. You know what I mean? So and it's really not this. They're right outside of Richmond too, so it's like one of the more populated areas
Yeah.
in Jersey.
Well,
But yeah, I mean
yeah.
Virginia. Sorry, but
The more you
to
go
me,
outside
it's
of
like
Richmond, it
Jersey is
definitely.
more like urban. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Yeah.
you're yeah, it's city like, but it's not the city. You know what I mean? It's super
Well, I
densely
would say
populated.
depending on where you go too, because like yeah, obviously most of South Jersey towards like where the river's at, around that area is very populated, like where I lived in Cherry Hill and like that whole
Yeah,
area. But you go more
Yeah.
east, like into the state, it's the sticks, and then obviously
Yeah.
once you hit the coast. And then where you guys are at, you guys are in where?
Monmouth County.
Yeah, whatever that
We're
area
like
is.
we're like closer to the Edison store for Aries.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
thinking you guys are closer to Iron Revolution, right?
Yeah, we are. We're like, see, that's the thing. Where I'm at, it's like really weird. And this is why I was never at any of those Aries events and shit. A lot of people will notice if they know where I'm at. I live legitimately like on the water. Like I could fucking spit. Like we feel the breeze coming in. Like we're on the water. So
Oh,
for me,
okay.
I'm
So
all
you
the
live like
way
an
there
hour
on
and
the
a half
shore.
from those events.
So I'm like an hour from Iron Revolution, and I'm like an hour and change from the Edison store, like smack dab in the middle. So for me to go anywhere, like I have to go north to get south, or I just have to go south. I can't just go west. You know what I'm
That
saying?
area
It's
is really
weird.
nice,
It's
isn't it? I never got to go up there.
see, that's the thing. Like for me, where we're at in Jersey, like I feel like we kind of got the best of. Like if we
Yeah.
go too far north, it starts to get fucking too crowded, and it's like fucking. I don't know.
Dude,
It's
I
like
do
the
not
people
like
are
it up
But
not the
there.
best.
honestly,
Yeah.
I have to give it to Jersey though, because we have a little bit of everything. Like I feel like Jackson Millstone is very rural. Like
Yeah.
they use the Freehold Stop and Shop, like grocery store. And because I had friends that lived there when I was in high school, and they would have to drive literally 25 minutes to get to
Yeah.
my grocery store and my
Yeah.
whatever. When I'm like 2 minutes away from it, whatever. But yeah, no, I feel like we have everything. We have cities, we have urban, we have rural, we have
Yeah.
farmers, we have crackheads. We have everything.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Where
Jersey
we're
has
at though,
everything.
there's less crackheads than there is anywhere else
Yeah.
in Jersey. So like
Yeah.
we literally
Yeah,
we
we're in
got
Monmouth
like the
County,
best of both worlds. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, I would still say where like Marina lives is suburbs, definitely, because where
Yeah.
I grew up, it wasn't like I had to drive 20 minutes from the store, but where I grew up in Woodstock, Georgia, Canton, Georgia, it was very underdeveloped when my parents got their house in like 2001.
Mhm.
And then as I got older, it got more and more developed. And then when I went back there, when I was obviously in the Marine Corps and stuff, I'd go home and visit. Dude, it just started blowing up. Like,
Yeah.
so it was suburbs, but more. It's like obviously we're still like 35, 45 minutes from Atlanta. It's just
Mhm.
suburb, like it's more
Yeah.
urban.
It blew up with like you have like like multiple Starbucks, like Chipotle, like those
Yeah,
types of
everywhere.
shopping centers and shit. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
and obviously like you go a little bit like a couple exits up north where I grew up, it just started to get into sticks. So it's just like there's kind of levels to it. And then where I'm at, I'd say it's definitely suburbs, but there's like stores everywhere, like there's shopping centers and places, but it's definitely suburbs because where I'm at, there's just neighborhood after neighborhood everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. See, that's the only thing that worries me. Like I keep looking at like the Texas area, like Marina knows, because you get, especially on Instagram where you're looking at house and shit, like they'll fucking show you everything. It's like directly on the border, and it's like three thousand
and they're
dollars for a
nice.
house that's like,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful, dude. Like they look
Yeah.
like they're in Jersey. That's a $3 million home down there. It's
Yeah.
like they're like, we'll take $400. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. You can find, so if like a house that you probably pay like 800,000 in Jersey, you probably find here for like 500,000.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
actually crazy.
Yeah. That's legit too.
There's
That's like a
solid.
legit like
It's a nice
comparison.
house, bro. Like a real
Yeah.
nice house. And then I know Jersey, the property taxes are insane there. I remember we were gonna get a house in Cherry Hill. It was only like a $300,000 house. The property taxes were like 12,000 a year. It's insane.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Our property taxes here, we'd be able to put a down payment on a house in Texas for 1 year's worth of, you know what I
Insane,
mean?
dude.
Yeah.
It actually
Yeah.
it added like an extra like $1,000 a month to your mortgage just for new property
Mhm.
tax.
That's exactly what it does. Yeah.
Here
Exactly what it
it's
does.
a little bit higher, but there's no state income.
The property taxes? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean,
that's the
at
only
the end of
thing
the
here.
day, like it's
No state income.
especially for like the fucking fitness world where we're all fucking coaches or something along those lines, where you're working for yourself. Like that's where that Texas is becoming like a breeding ground for bodybuilding, especially in the
And
DFW
people that
area.
like own their own business. And there's like
Yeah.
no food tax. Certain food gets taxed,
Mhm.
most of it doesn't, bro. You go to the
Yeah.
grocery store, like, wow, I just saved so much money. Like
Yeah.
I go get grass fed beef here and it's like $6 a pound versus $8. Like it's
Yeah.
or
Yeah, 8 minimum.
so
Like
much
I'm
better.
Yeah.
buying I just had Whole Foods come today, dude. I spent 11.50 on fucking a pound of fucking well, I guess that's bison, so it's a little bit different, but it's 11.50 a pound now. So I'm spending like $40 a grocery trip just on fucking bison. You know what I mean? Just on red meat. It's fucking insane. But yeah, it's definitely that in Florida, but obviously Florida's gotten a lot more pricey as far
No,
as the
dude,
real
Florida's
estate is concerned.
freaking expensive now. Like
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
My mom literally
Well,
just
we
moved. She just moved down to Florida.
where'd she
Like
move?
3 days ago. She grew up in Melbourne, so she just moved back down.
Nice.
She's bought a
I'm
house.
from my grandparents lived in Melbourne my entire life. I grew up in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah,
And then
so
my
that's exactly
grandparents.
where my mom grew up, Cocoa Beach.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
We literally live like right fucking like blocks away from the Ron
the
John
launch
Surf
pad.
Shop.
Oh, okay, yeah,
From
I've been
yeah,
there.
Ron John Surf Shop. Yep.
Growing up,
But
it was
yeah, no.
awesome.
Melbourne, I got a lot of fucking memories of feeding manatees and shit and hanging out at grandma and grandpa's house. But yeah, so all right, well, listen, let's get to I'm gonna fuck up your name now every single time. I also, for all intents and purposes, though, I do have the phonetic dyslexia. So like when I hear things, like it's hard for me to get it back out that way. So like the for me to say your name right now correctly is not happening. Like the only thing that's in my head is Elias. Like I can't, I'm gonna fuck it up in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, listen, we just found out what Elias's real name is, which is not Elias. It's
It's
Elias.
Elias.
All right, Elias. I'll
Got it.
remember it sooner or later. I'll repeat it over and over while you're talking. But so it's Elias. So for all you motherfuckers in Jersey, they keep calling him Elias. Like, you know, he said he doesn't care, but it's Elias, right? Well, that should be the title of this podcast, Marina.
Okay.
It's Elias, not
How do you say his
Elias.
name?
And it's just
Yeah.
spelled the exact same.
Yeah. But obviously, listen, it was a busy year for you last year. And we've talked on this podcast plenty about bodybuilding. And, you know, I think the one of the key things that we've tried to kind of hone in on this probably like last year, right, is how long it takes. Like bodybuilding to me, I think the number one thing, it doesn't matter if you're natural, doesn't matter if you're enhanced, it doesn't matter what kind of genetics you have. Like at the end of the day, the number one thing that you can't cheat in bodybuilding is the time that's necessary to be a good competitive bodybuilder, right? Like we see so many people, especially at our level, because, you know, we're as honest and open as can be. Like at the end of the day, I'm not Cameron Cheek, who's, you know, God damn, I was going to call you Elias again. Elias? Elias.
There you go.
Elias's coach, right? We're not that high level of coach, Marina, myself, and Riley, right? Like we don't get that genetic freak that comes out of nowhere, right? That's like, you know, whatever, on the cusp of their pro card. And then like if we have anybody that's that good, it's because we've gotten them from that very beginning. We've helped mold them and build them up to the point that they're at, right? So the point though that I have there is like we get a lot of people that are like, you know, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder and I've never competed. I want to step on stage. And then, you know, we try to put them through this process where it's like, okay, cool, come on, like, let's get ready. Let's, you know, learn how to be a bodybuilder. And then of course they're like, well, when are we going to compete? And it's like, what? We're going to compete in fucking 2026, dude. Like we're not competing. Like you want to be a bodybuilder. Like that's not what you're saying is you want to do a contest prep. There's a complete total difference between doing a contest prep and being a bodybuilder. But I think the thing that they're unaware of is how badly a lot of people, a lot of us get bitten by that bug, right? Where some people say they just want to do a bodybuilding show. They go through that prep, they see the way their body changes, and whether it's the egotistical, like fucking superficial concept of I'm shredded and I love it, or just the process that I think a lot of people do fall in love with, and we kind of miss that sometimes. That it's like the organization of it, the determination of it, like having that goal in front of you for so long. Regardless of what it is, people get bit by the bug, and we see people become this. Their entire identity now is about bodybuilding, and whether that's for the better or the worse, we don't have to touch on that, but it's a fact. Like that does happen to people, right? So now they go right back into the same process where it's like, you know, they go through a off season, which isn't a true off season. They'll be fucking, you know, eating a few more calories for like 4 months, think that they put on a little bit of body fat. And now all of a sudden the summer's starting to come around again. They start to see other people get ready. They want to go right into another contest prep. And you almost see some of these people run that hamster wheel of like too much of that, you know, contest prep mentality. It's like, I don't think they ever really realize, like, dude, you're not a bodybuilder, right? Like, you're just somebody that's getting in shape and you're trying to step on stage. And like, then you get upset when you place 4th to 6th in an 8-man lineup over and over and over again. Like, what would you expect? And then you get that person that does hop into the right show. There's only like 78 competitors in the entire show, and they take a 2nd place finish and they think they're a national level quality competitor now. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where, again, I think what I'm trying to get to here is that we've talked a lot about how long it takes to be a good bodybuilder. And you're somebody that we brought up multiple times here because of your story. So if you want to walk us through maybe kind of honestly, even the first show, like what was that like? And how did you feel going into that show? How did you feel after that first show? And then from there, what was it like finding the current coach that you have? What was those conversations like? And how did he get a young guy like yourself to buy into that? Or was it just inherently inside of you? So that's kind of where I want to start, and then I'll lead you through the whole thing.
All right. So starting back, what did I do the show? 2018. I think it was, I decided to do it in like May, and the show was in August. And like, so like just start at the beginning. The whole reason I even wanted to do it was like, obviously I went to the gym and worked out a lot. I was in the Marine Corps. But before that, I had always been working out because I played football growing up, and that's what got me into training and wanted to be strong and big. And then joined the Marine Corps because I mean that's just what I wanted to do, and I didn't really want to go to college, so I figured that was the best route for me. Did that. I got really into like running long distance, so that was like my thing. I like doing that because I don't know, it was
Really?
That's
physically exerting me, and it would just like
Oh, I got you.
really like exert you. So I really liked that. And then I just like training a lot more. So I started playing rugby for the base team that we had. I was playing rugby for a little bit, and then that was just like absolutely destroying my body on top of like doing everything Marine Corps. So I was talking to some guys in the gym, some other Marines, and they're like, oh, so you should do a show. I was like, I didn't know anything about it. Like the people that I had watched with bodybuilding, like growing up, I guess I'd watched like Rich Piana just because like I liked it. I liked it how I was always talking on camera, and like you knew who like Ronnie Coleman were, Jay Cutler, all these like big names. But I didn't really know like a ton about bodybuilding. Um, who else did I watch? I watched Callan Von Moger a lot. I watched Steve Cook, just like kind of like more your influencers.
Yeah, exactly. Popular guys.
Yeah. And then I got into it. Did it. I hired a local coach. His name was Ben. Started the prep in
And
May.
this, are you in Georgia at this point? Or were you in
No,
Jersey
no.
already?
I was in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I was in North Carolina. Started
All
probably
right,
like
Ben.
mid-May, and then the show was I think the first weekend of August. So very short prep. Obviously, like I had never dieted before. I was eating healthy. Like obviously, I wasn't eating like on a strict like. I was probably eating 4 times a day, 5 times a day. I was drinking a lot of protein shakes. I was just eating
Right.
what I would consider like healthy, and it was more healthier foods. Like when I'd make a shake, I would like put 3 scoops of protein in it, like a ton
Yeah.
of spinach and oatmeal, and like
Right.
that's what I would drink after I trained. Um,
Yeah, like the young meathead diet where it's
yeah,
like
like
carton of eggs a
I was
day.
like, I just need
Yeah,
to eat
yeah,
food. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so he gave me a diet, followed it, and like I didn't have any issue there because I was like, when I was like, when I want to do something, like I'd swear like I'm not autistic, but I get fixated on it like I'm
Yeah.
autistic. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking do
I
this.
like rocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna do this, and I just like nothing's gonna stop me from doing it. So I followed it to a T. Um, Obviously my weight came down a little bit, but my coach didn't really like explain to me because obviously bodybuilding is new to me. Like, oh, you need to check in every week, you need to do all this. So I'm not checking in or anything. I'm just like
Oh
going
no?
like, yeah, like a month and a half passed, and I was like, hey man, my like weight stalled. Like, I don't know if like I'm getting lean enough. And he was like, yeah, you haven't sent me any pictures. And I'm like, I didn't know I needed to do that. Like, it's all new to me. Like,
What?
I don't
That's
know
crazy.
how it goes. So, but yeah, just like think back to like when you first started, like you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know these things.
yeah.
So, and it had just like been thrown an idea out, like somebody like, oh, you should compete. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. Like, sounds fun. And anyways, long story short, I didn't come in condition for the show. Show came around. I really liked doing it. Like I had a lot of fun. I think I got second in like a class of like, I think there was like 4 people. It was like nobody there. And
Mhm.
the guy that beat me,
What federation was it? Was it a
it was
sanctioned?
NPC. It was NPC.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it
Shit.
was Beach Body Classic or something like that.
So
And
was it just like in the boondocks of North Carolina? I mean, 2018, dude, was a
no,
relatively popular year for NPC. You know what I mean?
I
Like
drove
there was
down
some
to Myrtle Beach. It was some like
really.
more of a local show. Yeah,
Hmm.
it wasn't like
Okay.
crazy competitors there or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
At that time in Jersey, dude, there was like fucking easy fucking 150 people at every show. That because that was
yeah,
like that was when men's physique and bikini were becoming a thing. There was no bodybuilders really at all at that time. But again, the shows themselves were fucking packed at that point. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can still remember though, like when I think back to the guy that won the overall, I look back at the pictures of him, like, oh dude, I would have smoked this fucking guy now.
Really?
But
Yeah.
yeah. But I remember seeing the men's physique guy, and I looked back at the pictures recently. Dude, he looked fucking good. Like I wouldn't be surprised if
Really?
he's like doing really well right now because he looked
Yeah.
amazing. He was like a tall white guy, like super wide shoulders, super tiny waist, like very developed upper body.
I love how you're like, I wouldn't be surprised. Everybody's gonna hate on me because I talk a lot of shit about men's physique sometimes. Like I got a guy right now that's prepping for a show in men's physique. Like I don't mean to talk shit about men's physique. I don't, but I like how you're like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing really well right now. Like as if we don't have social media and you can't just like look somebody
Yeah,
up.
I don't even remember his
like,
fucking name. I gotta like look up
and
his.
I don't know anybody. Like I honestly, I know like 3 people in the top like 20 men's physique guys. Like I really just don't know. But if it was a bodybuilder, like we would all know him. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
I don't know. I know like obviously like like Aaron Banks and like Jeremy Buendia and like Mark Anthony.
That's all I got.
It's like
and like Brian Terry. Like that's it. That's all I got.
I don't know
that's
them, man.
literally the only 3 I got. Yeah.
Like I thought Steve Cook was an Olympian. Like I didn't even fucking
know,
sure, bro.
I'm pretty, but that's my beef with men's physique. It changes so much all the time. Like there's no keep. Think about a guy like Steve Cook was like, I think I don't know. He obviously never won a title, but he was like considered a big competitor at one point, wasn't he? In classic. I mean, men's physique.
I think so. I don't know.
Imagine him on stage now, though. He smoked at a fucking regional show, dude.
Yeah, because it's just the look so different. Yeah.
Yeah, so different. But yeah, all right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you doing that show in North Carolina, and you took 4th. You said, right?
Third or second out of 4 people, I think.
Right.
Heavyweights, dude. I needed to be like a bottom of light heavies. Like I needed to come down a lot. But I'd say that's kind of my fault and maybe more my coach's fault. I don't want to put the blame on him, but like he didn't kind of like guide me like he should have. Yeah. You know, but whatever.
Well, he also let you step on stage. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, dude, like we talked.
Dude, he did the show too. He did.
Oh, did he?
He did that show, bro.
He was a heavyweight too, wasn't he?
I think it was a light heavy. I think it was a light heavy.
It's like I'm gonna feed this kid olive oil all the way into his show, fucking 4 tablespoons per meal a day. Oh, but no, it's one of those ones where it's like again with that particular. I don't only see the pictures once that you posted it, but it's one of those ones where it's like again you could see that you had a good level of muscularity. Like you were a decent sized young dude at the time. How old were you when you did the show?
19. I think I was 19.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like you had an impressive amount of muscle for 19 years. Like you were clearly that dude that like drank a lot of milk when you were a kid and like grew up on a farm.
Yeah,
like,
dude, a lot of milk.
Shit. Yeah, see, like you were a thick motherfucker. So it's one of those things where it's like, honestly, if you came in peeled to that show, you probably could. And I don't know who else competed in the show, but you obviously, if you took second as is, you probably would have fucking, won that show. It's at least you're glad being fucking peeled, but like. To me, if you're a coach, like the one thing that you have control over is like, I don't have control over your genetic ability to grow muscle. I don't have control over how many drugs you've taken up to this show. I don't have control over, again, what your experience level is here. But the one thing I have control over is even if you have shitty genetics, you're not taking drugs, you've never touched anything for it, like you're going to be peeled on stage. You know what I mean? And like that was you guys missed that mark a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's like the one thing. If you don't got muscle, you got nothing. Like come and peeled at least. Like that's your best bet.
Because at the end of the day, that's your you can walk away from that being even if you don't win or you don't place well, whatever. You can say I did the best that I could possibly do.
I was peeled, So
you were peeled at that show. I thought you were soft as hell at that show.
No.
I thought you weren't.
No, he's saying.
I'm saying you could say that if you lost and stuff, you could see like, oh, I was peeled, Yeah,
I gotcha.
No, I was like super soft at that show, dude. Like I wasn't where I needed to be. But I started my first cycle when I started prepping for that show. I started like 500 tests, and I ran that all the way into the show. That's all I ran. Yeah, nice. So it wasn't even
500 milligrams of test all the way through.
Yeah,
but that's not. I mean, that's not.
It's not a lot, but that's all I took. No. And then I deployed after that. So literally 3 weeks after the show, I deployed. And I was gone for like 6.5 months. And then I was still training on the ship and just eating bullshit. Came back and then I talked to my coach and I was like, yeah, I'd like to do a show again. I don't know when. So he gave me a diet and stuff. I was following it. And then I met Cameron through a mutual friend of mine. Cameron talked to me. And I think Cameron was like really just starting to coach. I think he had a couple clients and stuff.
You know what? Before we get to Cameron real quick, I just want to see. So what was your, so you at that point, right? Because let's obviously, way more now. You can look back on that, hindsight's 2020, yada yada. When you walked off the stage there, did you feel you got second place? So did you feel good? Did you feel like you've accomplished as much as you could going into that show? You obviously went back to the same coach. So I can't imagine there was like any hard feelings towards that process.
No,
So how did you feel going into it? How did you feel immediately afterwards?
I kind of felt like obviously like I needed to learn a lot, but I wasn't like, I mean, I wasn't happy that I took second. I was happy to, like, I did the show. Like, I was just
Mhm.
excited to do it. And I knew I probably wasn't going to do the best. I just kind of needed to experience it maybe.
Mhm.
Um, but
So now, did you have anybody in your corner though that was kind of in your ear saying like, "Hey, dude, you could have been better. Like, you needed to be more peeled. You needed like, was are there anybody that you were speaking to at the time, like anybody that was like, this should have been done differently, or this could have been done better, or anything that made you like even interested in doing another coach?"
no, I obviously just some of the people that did the show just said you need to come in more peeled. Um,
Right,
I would really do the bodybuilding community that I was around in North Carolina was like nothing. It was literally nothing. So
right. So it's just like you were on like a
I was
fucking
the
like you
best
were
thing
actually
that was
relying on the
literally
guy.
there, probably.
Yeah.
There
But
was
you were
nothing.
relying on the coach that you're
Yeah,
paying. Yeah. And it's like,
exactly.
it's almost like if that's the feedback you're getting, of course, he's not going to talk too much shit. Did he say anything to you like that? Where it's like, next time, like if I did have somebody step on stage like that, I'd have to imagine that I'd have it, right, Marina? I mean, I would think that both of us would have a conversation with somebody before they got on stage, like, hey, you're not ready for this show. Like, if you want to do the show, whatever, we'll support you. You're going to be part of the, but you're not ready for the show. You're not going to do that well. Don't get your hopes up. Even if you do take a second place, I'd be like, here's the marks that we missed. If you ever want to compete again, like this is the expectation. This is where you're at going into the show. You know what I mean? Like I think we'd have that. So he didn't have any conversation with you like that.
Man, I
Yeah.
think the dude had too much going on in his life besides, like, he had a kid. I know you got kids, but he had a kid, and then he
Yeah.
also worked a job. I'm pretty sure he did like defense training for pilots, so
Mm,
um, he just worked a lot. So, and when he was
mhm.
at work, doesn't have his phone, so it was just like, I think coaching was like that extra thing for him that he kind of
Yeah.
did for a little money, but it really didn't take it serious. So,
Yeah. It's not to bag on him either. Like for anybody listening, like I'm not, my goal here is what I'm trying to do is kind of like just like get out, right? The ideas of like what was in your mind and everything at that point leading into this process of 4 fucking year off season. But again, I guess that's where we're going here. So why don't you get into how you got to Cam? You said you had mutual friends.
yeah, I knew this kid from Georgia because Cameron he was living like really close to, he was like living in the town I grew up in um, when I met him. And then we went to the gym that I was training at when I was like in high school, this LA Fitness, and
Mhm.
went with him, my buddy, this girl that I knew, and then Cameron was there too. And I met him through there. We talked a little bit, and then he ended up messaging me uh, a little bit after I got back to North Carolina because I was home in Georgia for a little bit. And then we were talking more, and then I was telling him about like my coach and stuff. And then he's like, "You don't have to follow this, but like check out this plan. This is what I got. Like if you like it, like we can talk more, but if you don't, it's all good." So he wasn't like pushy about it, but I could tell he knew that like I had a shit coach, and he was like trying
Mm,
to steer me in the right direction. He wasn't trying to like
yeah.
push or anything, but I was like, "Yeah, dude, like this is way better than what I already have. Like I'll switch." Like my coach
Mm,
really, it just really kind of sucks. So I switched over to Cameron. Um, and then obviously I told him like what my plans were. I was like, "Oh, I probably wanted to do like a show in classic because I knew I didn't have size." But I said like I don't know when I want to do a show, but I'd like to do one maybe in like a year and a half. Um, and then we started just talking, and then as we went on more and more, like maybe like 5 6 months in, he was like, "Yeah, dude, I don't think you'd make weight. Like I think as you're like growing more and more, he's like, I don't think that the weight thing's gonna work out. He's like, I think you need to do bodybuilding, but like you're not nearly big enough to win anything in a light heavyweight. So you'd probably need to be like a heavyweight at least. Like, so we kind of talked timelines, and I was like, so it was more of like we decided that we're gonna do a show when we're ready.
Yeah.
Um, so and I knew
Yeah.
I
How
was
tall are you?
5'10".
Yeah, that's a fucking tough
Um,
place to be. Yeah,
yeah. So I
especially at
need to,
that point because you didn't have a lot of time yet. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you didn't have a lot of time invested yet. You only did fucking what, one cycle of 500 milligrams a test or whatever, or it doesn't matter. At the end of the day,
yeah.
there's only so much you could have done by 20 years old or whatever it is now. So it's like you're for anybody that doesn't realize though, it's like, it's almost like height. We like every dude, especially like when you're on Tinder, you know what I mean? You want to put that you're 6'3". So like every chick wants to, you know what I mean? Like wants a 6'3" guy, you know what I mean? But like I make fun of Riley all the time for being a short king, but he's like 5'8.5", and I'm like 5'9". You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're a short bitch. You know what I mean? So like every inch matters. You know what I mean? Like typically for a dude, right? But in bodybuilding standards, like if I were fucking 5'3", I'd actually have enough weight on me to be a decent competitor. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, yeah, dude.
At 230 pounds, yeah, I'd actually be decent at 5'3". You
Be
know what I
fucking
mean? But
huge.
so yeah, with in bodybuilding world, like the shorter you are, obviously it's a little bit easier to fill out the frame. And I shouldn't say it like that. Obviously, everybody has a different genetic potential, blah, 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 blah. But again, it's a little bit easier to fill out a frame that's smaller rather than a longer frame. You're gonna have to put that much more tissue on to be that much more impressive on stage.
Agreed, man. And like just as a bodybuilder, it takes time. Like
Yeah.
tissue, like building tissue takes a lot of time. Like good looking tissue, Um, so we decided we're gonna do a show whenever we were ready. Like yeah, we didn't start like obviously like as we went on with like cycles and stuff. I think I did like NPP and test. That was it. A couple times, and then we started to add in. We got down the road. We added in growth hormone and insulin. I think I'm like 22, 23 at this point. Um, and then I really started to. I would say when I added in growth hormone and insulin is like when I really started to see like some crazy progress, like
Yeah.
to against like all the other drugs. Like I mean, I really hadn't taken anything. It was just like test NPP, and Primo and like Master on. I think that was it, man. I didn't really take anything crazy. I wasn't doing any orals or anything like that. Um, and then as we added that in, and as I started to take it longer and longer, it was like, all right, like this shit's working.
Yeah.
And there's like points in my physique you could probably see from like 2020 to like 2022 where you can see like my physique really started to change. And I think that was also on top of like kind of like I would say not even just as like building muscle, but like as a adult, like I was maturing a little more.
Yeah.
You could see like obviously my face was changing. Like, dude, I didn't have facial hair probably till I was like 22 or 23. Like I had like peach fuzz. I had barely any body hair. Like
Yeah.
you could see I just started to like mature more, and I looked like my physique matured and like my face matured and everything at like once, and like that's when my physique started to change completely. And like probably due to
It's
drugs.
crazy. It's crazy when you really think about it. I think we've had this conversation before, but like growth hormone and insulin, right? When you look at those individually in terms of the drugs and the landscape of drugs that we all like know is available and commonly used in bodybuilding, they probably have some of the lowest risk profile, if not the lowest risk profile in terms of anabolics, right? Like pure anabolics, and then yet they're probably the thing that are also going to probably create the most dramatic, and I don't want to go too crazy with this because there's probably gonna be people listening that would run away with it, but they're probably gonna be things that create the most dramatic difference over time. And again, the reason why they're probably not recognized is kind of like that. And for people that have been in the industry for a while, people know what they're doing. They are recognized for this, but for people that kind of like, do you really need growth hormone? Do you really need insulin? Blah blah blah. How big of a deal are? It's like those are the people that didn't like you. The thing that stands out to me is that you said from 2020 to 2022, right? Where most people are taking growth hormone and insulin, they're like, oh, I did it for 3 months and I didn't really get that effect. So like, I cut it out and like, yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, dude, it's the same thing with everything else, which is obviously the overarching theme of the podcast here. It's like that shit takes time, but like, you really do notice that with the growth hormone and insulin specifically, where it's like, you look at like, don't look every 3 months, don't look every 6 months, don't look every 8 months. Like when you take that year different picture and you've been, whatever, and again, I'm throwing out dosage shit like that now, but like even the nominal amount of like 4 IUs over the course of a year, and you're taking a small amount of that basal, insulin to be able to keep things in check from a blood glucose management, and you're eating to be able to supply those things and training to be able to supply those. The reality is that difference that you can get, it's weird because it's not that it is muscle development, but it's a different look than the androgens are going to give you, in a sense that it's
Way
like,
different.
yeah, you're like shaping the body a little bit
Yeah.
different, like you're developing the body a little bit differently. That roundness that you start to gain from it, it's like there's a significant difference between that and or somebody that was just running the testosterone, masteron, preable, and
Way
NPP and doing
different.
cycles on and off. And it's like I don't, you know, it's one of those things where you'd have to get into like the science, which I don't want to do here, but it's just one of those things where it's like the difference is, you know, insurmountable in my opinion as it relates to other drugs of bodybuilding. But again, the key facet there is the time that you spent doing it, right? In that state too, where it's like,
Yeah.
don't just tell me, oh, I did, you know, growth hormone and insulin for 2 years. It's like, yeah, but you also did fucking 3 contest preps at that time. Like you weren't giving it the environment that it needed to truly thrive in terms of like the growth aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like you weren't, you know, piling the food. You took X amount of months into the show, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, so go ahead. So from 2020 to 2022, there was a big difference in terms of the way the body started to shape up. At that point, are you in your mind at all in terms of, because again, you have to realize like you're obviously a patient enough dude to where it's like, you know, any other kid in your kind of like situation probably would have wanted to step on stage. What are the conversations like right now with Cameron in terms of you and your mindset going to him? Are you telling him at all, like, dude, when am I going to compete? Like, I'm getting antsy. Like, when are we going to compete? Was there anything like that coming from you at this point? Or are you just happy with the ride?
I'm just happy with it, man. I knew I was like, if I want to like do good at a show, I gotta be big. Like it was
Yeah.
like I know like the way I look now isn't gonna cut it. Like I'd see who's on stage. I'm looking more at like and like probably even at that point I didn't know many like national competitors, but I'm looking more at like pros and I'm like how they're looking and stuff. I'm like, dude, I gotta be big. Like so I really like I wasn't like pushy with it. I was just like, we'll do it when we're ready. Like we're gonna take
So
the
you
time.
just had that mind. So that was inherent.
Yeah,
Like he
because
didn't
that's like,
necessarily like,
because a
yeah,
lot of
rare.
kids around that age, yeah, it's rare. Because how old were you at that point? What, like 22? Like when you started, or no, younger when you
I
started
was
with camp?
He was 19.
2020, probably.
Oh,
I think it
wicked.
was 2020, or I was 2020. I think I was 22. Yeah, I was 22.
Yeah, so that's like kid, like a 22-year-old now, no, they would not have any kind of like self-control, any kind of patience at all. And especially you not knowing, because I'm sure you didn't like anticipate a 4-year off season. But I guess like with time as you went on, you were like, yeah, another year, like whatever. But that's like crazy to me that like it's just, you were just chill.
Yeah, I was like, I I don't even know. I just like I guess I was kept telling myself like I want to do good and like it's gonna take time, so I just kept doing it. And like yeah, I'd say starting towards more like 2022, like going into 2023, I got more antsy because like I want to fucking do this already. Like
Mhm.
I look good.
Yeah. Right.
And then Cameron was like, all right, it looks like we can start a prep now. We started to talk more about it. And he's like, I think you're in a
Well,
good
before
spot.
we get into that, I'm curious, just give me numbers roundabout. Doesn't have to be specific, but like how much did you weigh when you started with Cam?
Maybe like 215 pounds, but or maybe like 220, 230, something like
Okay.
that. But
Yeah, roundabout.
it's
Soft.
not like a very there's muscle. You could tell there's muscle there, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
it's like very young muscle where it's like softer and like
Yeah,
you ever see those young guys that are in their 20s, like early 20s, that you like, dude, this
right.
guy's got muscle on him, but it's like soft
If you got
muscle.
him peeled, he'd be like 180.
Yeah, it'd fall
Yeah.
off. It would just fall
Yeah.
off. It hasn't been
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
100%.
it was
Yeah.
like that.
So now going into like, let's say late 2022, like right before, because obviously you did the thing in 2023. So like going into like 2022, maybe late 2022, before you guys decide to really put like pen to paper as far as the whole plan is concerned. Because I know for you, again, talking to Cam, I think he said he did it for you like 40 weeks out or some shit like that. No, you like legitimately started to come down, I think like 40 weeks out. Yeah. So it's probably like a year before that you guys put pen to
Hold on.
paper as
I
far as
want
that
to add this
schedule.
in too. Like,
Yeah.
just so anybody that's watching this that's like younger, like remember this whole time, like I'm doing this bodybuilding thing, like I'm going on detachments in the military. I'm like
Mhm.
I'm
That's a
doing
good call.
all sorts of shit with the military. Like some days I'm getting up at 4 a.m. and not like leaving work till 5. Like I'm in the military the whole time. So like anybody that says like they can't do it, like, oh, it's too hard to like I dude, I just can't resonate with people that say that shit because I've literally probably had the hardest fucking job to do it, and I still did it. Like, I went on a detachment. I remember in 2022 to Kansas, and I was there for like 3.5 weeks. And like the first time we went to Kansas in July or June, I was, dude, it got to the point where like I didn't have food sometimes, so I'm eating fucking like 3 Kind bars before I went to bed with a protein shake. Like, and
Right.
I just wasn't able to cook food at certain times. So like I was
Yeah.
still like eating and like making it
Yeah.
fucking happen. It wasn't ideal
Your
food, but
your room just smelled like fucking rotisserie chicken the
yeah,
entire
dude.
time
And
you're
I was
there.
like, I was doing everything to make it happen. And then we went on a detachment again in September to Kansas. And like I was working fucking 4 p.m. to 5 a.m. every day.
Oh God.
And I was still fucking, and I'd sleep until 1 p.m., wake up, go to the gym. I probably went to go to, wasn't even going to bed till 6 a.m. I was waking up at 1, eating, going straight to the gym, and then doing it all over fucking like 2.5 weeks. And like, it's not ideal at all. Like, that's like the
No.
worst scenario. And I'm still doing it and making it fucking happen.
I
And
mean,
like,
I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned that because like that also like it's probably why you had that mindset too, because it's not like you
dude, it was brutal. Like, I would come
yeah.
home and I'm sweating all fucking day. And like the summer in Kansas, it's so hot. And
Yeah.
I'd come home, I'd still have at 5 a.m. have one more meal to eat. I'd eat that meal. Like I did have a meal prep service like ship all my food there before I went. And I was like very smart about it because I was like, I'm not fucking cooking. So, and I'm eating like fucking salmon that's fucking disgusting with rice that was in the fridge. Oh, dude, it was
Yeah.
awful.
I
And
was
I'd like
sitting there for like fucking 2 weeks at a clip.
come
Yeah.
back, taking my growth hormone, fucking pinning myself, and then showering, and then going to sleep, and then doing this all over the next day. I was just fucking like brutal, bro. So brutal. And like, I don't know, you just really gotta like want it to like
Yeah.
kind
But
of
let but how much, so you started at like that 220, and obviously again we can't, like, weight is only so much of the picture because like, dude, and I just posted a picture of Riley today, like trying to explain. I was having this conversation with him because he's still relatively new into it. He's got, only 1 season competing under his belt. Like I'm trying to explain to him like during like, some of these guys during prep where it's like, dude, you got to eat, like, when you see a different weight, right? And or I'm sorry, when you see the same weight but a completely and totally different look at that same weight, it does start to build in your brain a little bit that, oh, it's not really about the weight. It's
yeah.
about the way that we
Look,
look at this
yeah.
given weight. Yeah, which is extremely important. But still, with that being said, if you started at like the 220 range or whatever it is, now in 2022, late 2022, where are you at, like given like roundabout for your body weight?
All right, so October of 2022, I think I just finished a cycle, probably my heaviest cycle, and I got probably towards the heaviest I'd ever been. I think I was like 270.
Yeah, so there
270.
you go. Good. Okay. That's what I
But
want to
or at
hear.
this point, remember, I've never dieted down really. I've literally never
Yeah.
dieted down to being show lean. So
Yeah. Surely.
I've
Yeah. You guys
only
had
been
plenty of times where you
like,
come down to like
yeah,
baseline and
pull
then, yeah,
down a little bit, like maybe pull down probably like 10 pounds, and then like
get your
obviously
health right and all that
get
shit.
insulin sensitivity a little bit better, like
Yeah.
because you're really only gaining so much muscle during a cruise when you're cruising. Like obviously you're gonna gain a little bit, but anyways,
Yeah.
and then October I ended a cycle, and then we brought Nick Gloff into the picture to do all my training. From that time to January when we started prepping for the show, dude, I was fucking getting stronger in all my lifts. Like I was barbell back squatting. Like I think I went up like 75 pounds in that in a couple months and keeping the reps the same. I think I was like, I started at 405 and I did like 15 reps. And then from October to January, I was squatting like 590 for like
Jesus.
13 reps. Like
God damn.
dude, Nick just knows his shit, man.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
good.
That's somebody I want to get on. I've actually
And
messaged
I
him a
was
couple
only
times.
taking
Can't get
like
a fucking
200
answer.
rigs a test or like 150. That's all I was taking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, he's good, dude. And he's been good he's one of those guys that like he's been doing the training thing for like you can legitimately go back. I remember listening to him on like unknown podcast. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what fucking podcast it was, but like legitimately back in like 2018, 2000, like he's been doing it for a long fucking time, and he's always known what he's always been at that more of a like comprehensive level. You know what I mean? Where it's like he's a little bit deeper in it than most people would even recognize, but he's also done it too. Like if you look at his physique and the way he's almost that guy, he's like trained by JP American. You know what I mean? Where it's like they just got so fucking big. Like they literally, it's like they're not even like I don't even want to call them like they're bodybuilders, but like it's almost like they're fucking just building their body as opposed to a competitive body, which I know he had some shit get in the way. But I'm just saying, like he's clearly got like he knows what he's doing there. And if he's putting on that kind of fucking slabs of tissue with himself, like yeah, you can see it though. But like that's why he's got the reputation he does at this point. So definitely somebody you want to have on. So now you brought Nick in, you're growing like a fucking weed.
Yeah, literally. I wish I had him in the whole off season. Like it was crazy, and he's so freaking good, man. And like I think that's when I started to really take my training up a notch to like I was training fucking hard, like till I just was like failure everything. But like when I started with him, it was just like, okay, like I'm missing certain exercises that I need to be doing to develop where I need to develop. And he basically gears your whole training. He'll look at your physique, right? And he gears your whole training like, where do you suck the most, right? Like this is where we need to hit. And for me, it was like arms, chest, adductors, things like lower lats, like that, like just what I needed to bring up. So we geared my whole training towards that.
Right. And then you brought volume down in the other areas that you're really
Yeah,
already proficient in. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then leading into that, I think I was probably like, around 270s. I didn't really drop too much weight coming off cycle. Like I like held weight, which was pretty cool.
Great.
And then I think we started like prepping probably the beginning of January, right after New Year. Like we finished the holidays.
And tell people what now we'll backtrack, but what show did you go pro at?
North Americans.
And what month is that?
September 1st, I think.
So now, so you said you started prepping in January, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't step on stage with his pro card until September. So did you guys talked about that timeline, obviously, going into it. Yeah, because the first show you did to qualify there was in August, right? At PA Muscle. So it's like when you're obviously now at this point, you're far more integrated into bodybuilding. You understand what's going on. You have a very in-depth knowledge of what's going on. You've been doing the damn thing with one of the better coaches in the industry. So again, your comprehension is much greater than it was. Now, when your coach comes to you and says, "Hey, dude, here's the deal. We're going to start prep here, but we're not competing for 9 months." Is there anything going through your head at that point of like, what the fuck, dude? You're 9 months out? Nothing.
No,
so
dude, I'm like, fucking do it. Like,
all right. So you're just ready for it. So no questions asked or anything like that. It's just go for it.
Yeah, okay. We're doing it. Yeah. I trusted him. Like everything that I had, I trusted him. So, I was just ready.
So now does he lay out? Because I know the way Cameron does it is essentially like he's got his own thing that he's looking at there, where he has an entire fucking spreadsheet laid out to the point, right, in which you guys are going, and then he kind of evolves the thing from there based on the feedback, the way the body's changing or not changing, yada yada yada. But do you see that on your end in terms of his? So like when you're looking at it, do you see that long ass schedule essentially? Like, does he talk to you about that, or is he just feeding off of you and being ready, and it's just one of those things where you guys are communicating essentially as is regular thing, or is he telling you like 40 weeks or however many weeks? Like, is he giving you that verbiage so you understand timeline?
Obviously, being amateur, we got to kind of aim for certain things. Obviously, there's certain national shows we're going to aim for. And you want to line up the qualifiers with them because I still needed to qualify. So like, you kind of want to line those up. So you're like, you don't want to do a fucking qualifier in May and then a national show in August, like you don't want to be dieting for that long. So we wanted to line it up. So it was like just about ready and then stepping into the national show ready. So we kind of picked the shows out. I was like, hey, I want to do PA Muscle. Like that'd be a cool show to do. It's like right here. I don't want to fucking drive halfway across the country for a stupid qualifier. Like I'm not doing that. Like this is a local show. Let's do that. And they pay for North Americans if you win. So I was like, let's try and win this. So then it pays for my entry fee. So we picked those out. And so that's what we shot for. And starting in January, it's like we kind of had like all the room to like pick out the show we wanted, starting that early. Like, yeah, I needed to come down a lot, but that's a lot of time, and I was obviously, like you said, I built the habits of being a bodybuilder from like 2018 to now. So it was like, prep was like nothing, bro.
It's no different.
There's like nothing.
It's the same shit. It's the same shit, and it's just a little bit more like, hey, there's no free meals unless I tell you we're adding something in there. There's it's essentially like a tighter grip on the nutrition.
I didn't have one from January.
Not one free meal. Yeah,
I didn't have one.
Yeah, that's what people always.
Yeah,
dude, I can't. That's the one thing. It's like I will give somebody, like we had that girl Jen. Like I don't know if she told you, but I just gave her a pass to go to Chick-fil-A here. Today,
really?
Actually, tonight, Friday. Yeah, I gave her, because again, she's fucking just dropped a whole bunch. She dropped, like, we've been dieting for a long time, and she just dropped like fucking 4 pounds or something like that out of nowhere. I'm like, all right, let's so I gave her higher calorie day today plus Chick-fil-A, higher calorie day tomorrow, higher calorie the next day, no cardio, yada yada yada. Fill her back up a little bit, and she's already posted pictures and she's looking a little bit more full. So but again, I think what people don't realize is, like, we talked about how long bodybuilding takes in terms of the growth aspect for Elias. One more time. Hurry, help me out.
Elias. Dude, just call
Elias,
me
that's
E.
right.
Just call me E.
Yeah, there you go. Big E. There you go. I'll call him E. There you go. Much easier that way. All right. So we talked about how much it takes for fucking growth, right? But now it's like, it's the same concept here. It's just obviously the gears are switching. Like, again, people want to rush this shit so much. It's like they hear things on the internet 16 weeks, fucking 12 weeks, fucking, and then it's like, oh, 20 weeks. Then when I say it's like, okay, we're going to start 30 weeks out, like, what? 30 weeks out? It's like, dude, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. It's not just, it shouldn't be a linear shot of just dieting. Like you would briefly mention there, like nobody wants to diet for this long a period of time, but that period of time was like May to September or something like that.
Crazy.
Well, you were in prep though, which a lot of people will see as dieting, right? From January to fucking September. So that's an even longer time frame than that. But again, you can kind of explain to people how it's like you weren't dieting the entire time. You had, they pulled you down a little bit, you stay it this way, then they give you a little bit more, then they pull you back down a little bit, push you back up, right? It's this process of like, hey, let's feed what it is that we're trying to do here, which is A, create a look, B, perform at a high level, right? Reduce fatigue over and over and over again, so that essentially you're well fed enough. Like, cravings are always going to be there during contest prep, because again, you're not able to kind of go out and do what you want to do. So your cravings are always going to be there as a bodybuilder, as a competitor, in terms of what we're doing. That's just the way it works. But at the end of the day, you're not like fucking suffering from like a dieting perspective to where it's like you got cement feet and you can't go do this. You can't, like, you're well fed during this process to be able to perform and keep the tissue that you need to keep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you to touch on too, is like, yeah, you were in prep from like January up until September, but like Tim just said, like, you probably didn't have a very super like horrible, like battling the demons kind of prep, because you had such a good setup beforehand. Obviously, you suffer, you got really fucking lean, so it's like it's part of the mix, but like I'm sure it wasn't as horrible because you had years of a setup.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's horrible when you get closer, right? Because at the end of the day, there's always that point. Yeah, there's always that point.
You're not avoiding
that.
If you look,
exactly.
Avoid that. Yeah.
Right. There's always that point. There's always got to be that stretch where everybody has to understand, where it's like, all right, this is dig time. But if you do that strategically, you'd be surprised how much shit you can pull off somebody's body in a very fucking quick time frame. And then you still have the capacity, because their body is so used to carrying all that glycogen. Now you can load that person up a lot more efficiently, rather than the person who just diets you. But go ahead.
So like start from like the beginning of prep, right?
No, well, I was going to say, where were you just going with it, Marino? I'm sorry, I fucked up.
But like his entire prep probably wasn't just like dying the whole.
So
the whole 8 months.
We'll start from the beginning. I think he literally, like, we started prepping and he bumped my food to like 1,000 grams of carbs for like 3 weeks. He's like, all right, we're going to push it for a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh God. So we pushed it a little bit, and then we start, and then he's like, all right, now we're going to do it. And then dropped me to like 600 carbs or 700 and pulled it down. And then I dropped like 20 fucking pounds, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
20 15 pounds in a couple weeks.
Tim, I think we should try that. 700 grams
Like-
of carbs. Maybe I'll drop like 20
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah.
She says shit like that all the time, and then I give her 350 grams of carbs. She's like, I don't know how to eat all this. Like,
Yeah.
shut up,
No.
dude. Whatever. But whatever. So you drop like 20 pounds off that first reduction, but you're still
Yeah.
fucking obviously eating to the point where your appetite's probably not fucking great. And it's just like you're still fucking, you know, like at that point where it's like you're fucking essentially you have to put down the food. Like it's not one of those things where you're like starving at this point for 600 grams of carbs a day, right?
Yeah, and I don't even think I added in cardio till like April. Like, so
Yeah.
it was a prep, but I think, and then at this point, I think I was like on very low dose drugs. I think it was like 500 tests, 400, 300 primo, something low, and then like some growth, maybe insulin. I don't even remember. I'd have to look back, but I think that's all I was on. So it was kind of like we're going to add in a little bit of drugs since food's very high. So it's like we're still feeding, and then we're going to come down at the same time. So let the body do what it's going to do. And man, I was coming down, so it was good. And then as we started to like come down and come down and come down, I think when we start to like actually kick the drugs in, like probably like April or May, whenever we added like Trenin, like
that's when you start to see the
low
body
dose,
change.
like 200. Bro, I got stuck at a weight for like 8 weeks, and my weight started going up. And we're like, what the fuck is going on?
You're just getting gnarlier. But
Yeah.
was he saying that though, or were you thinking that? Oh, really? But were you getting gnarlier and gnarlier as far as the pictures are concerned?
Yeah,
exactly.
And then and it was like low, dude. It wasn't that high. And then my weight started coming up, and we're like, what the fuck is going on? And then I was getting leaner and leaner and leaner and like better and better. And he's like, dude, you're not doing heavy weights. There's no way. He's like, I will have to diet you into the ground. And I was like, all right, whatever. So
you guys thought heavyweights from the very beginning? You were at 270, looking the way
I thought I was
going
to be like disgustingly peeled at 225. And that's what it looked like as we were coming down, dude, until we added that in. Once we added that in, it was like, dude, it's not going to happen. Because I definitely grew. Like I 100% grew during prep. Like, I look back at my pictures. Like I can even look back at my pictures starting the prep, and like maybe like 2-3 months after I won the show, and I'm like, obvious, or like even a month or two. Like I know I'm peeled then, but like I'm like, dude, I look way better. Like, and there's no way I grew that much. But from that period to that period, I looked completely different. And I'm not just talking from a conditioning standpoint. I'm talking everything.
Yeah, that's also the other, like people talk about that all the time, like all the way back to like Kevin Levrone. Like, how do people grow in prep? Like people talk all the time about you don't grow in prep because you're like you're calorie deficient, blah, blah, blah. Set yourself up with time. And then the other important thing there too is set yourself up from a drug perspective. Like don't go into it like a retard, just blasting fucking. We were talking about this on the other podcast with Steve and Matt the other day, where it's like they were talking about like what's more, where would you deploy more drugs, off season or contest prep? And I'm like, it depends on how you look at it, because I know then they were immediately contest prep, and I'm like, I don't know, dude, because again, for off season, like if I know your threshold, right, I'm gonna try to get you up to that threshold as quick as I can, because the longer you're at that threshold, the more you're building that higher capacity of muscle. You know what I mean? Versus in prep, it's almost like, again, there's more strategy there, where it's like at first it might even be like a little bit of a health phase, trying to get somebody's blood work in order, allowing their body to get situated. You don't need drugs necessarily to lose fat. You know what I mean? So it's like, let's start that process right now. Let's worry about the food. Let's worry about the cardio. Let's worry about the training, right? And then it's like, okay, now let's put a little bit of this in. Let's put a little bit of that in. And then you start to see things more if you start to see things change. And again, that's always the conversation that I was talking about earlier with Riley, where it's like, dude, don't worry about the fucking scale weight. Forget about the fucking scale weight. If we have a cap to hit, we understand that. We'll maneuver for that. But like, don't worry about the scale weight now, halfway through prep, right? Or whatever, 10 weeks into prep or whatever it is. Like, that's a good thing when that scale weight's going up and your visuals are better and better and better and better. That's what you want. So like in your mind now, when you're thinking light heavyweight heavyweight to a super heavyweight, are you getting excited from that? Like, that's obviously something where you're like, yeah, dude, I'm going to step on a stage of fucking super heavy. Or do you immediately kind of be like, oh shit, I got to step on stage of super heavy? Like,
it was more like, oh shit. Like, yeah. Cause I was like,
damn,
these guys are going to be so much fucking bigger. Like,
huge.
I was just like, I was kind of in my head, dude. And honestly, going into the show, like, I wanted to win it, but I was like, if I get first call out at my first national show, I'll be happy. But like, I wanted to win. That was my goal. But like, I was just being realistic. And I was like, my first national show, like, I don't know how good people are going to come in. Like I've never competed against other bodybuilders this good. Like I'm not going to go in and be like, yeah, I'm going to fucking win this.
Yeah, right.
Like, so
Logical.
I was being logical and realistic with myself.
Yeah.
All the way into that point. Cause I didn't want to just like, I didn't want to like put it in my head that I'm going to do this and then really fall short of it and then be more upset with myself and like, kind of like, but I guess in towards the end though, like I'd be talking to Cameron and I'd only say this to Cameron and Nick, be like, we're going to fucking win. Like, and
were they giving you that back at that point? Like when you're like, let's say whatever, fucking 4 weeks out from PA Muscle, obviously things are starting to come together there, right? Or even, excuse me, going into PA Muscle, because now you kind of you're like whatever. Let's say you're 90%, 85%, whatever it is going into that qualifier, right? Obviously, I'm sure that's the way what Cam was thinking and had you lined up for that. And then obviously you take that next 5-10% off going into,
dude, I'd say
the
I
national
was
show.
like 75% at PA Muscle.
There you go.
Dude, because I really know how I looked at PA and then I know how I looked at North Americans. Like it was a big deal difference. Like it was,
so
like people thought I knew at PA when I did it. I was like, dude, I don't look that fucking good right now. And people are like, oh, you look crazy. I'm like, no, I don't. It's like, you know, I see nothing, bro. Like it's gonna change, and I knew it was gonna change.
Like, because you guys hadn't really fucking like dialed it in there. Like we don't have to get into that. I don't want to miss the point here. But I guess my question to you is like, you're saying that to them as you're going into PA Muscle, let's say, just because that's a few weeks out from North Americans. Is Cam and Nick starting to get excited back to you and giving you that same feedback back? Or are they a little bit more reserved, like just telling you like, yeah, buddy, but they're not saying like, yeah, dude, you look fucking incredible. Like you need to have first place in mind. Like this is we're after the pro card.
I think it was
like, what's the exchange like?
I think it's more of like, I've been working with Cameron so long and there's like a relationship there. Like
right.
Cam, and I know like certain clients he can be like, has to be like reserved with and stuff, but like, we know each other so well and stuff. I think it was like,
it's also a matter of what you're looking at, though. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be, if you're a coach and you're being giving somebody unrealistic expectations, it's fucked up. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be direct with you, and I'm gonna tell you flat out what I think. And if it's like, hey, I want your mindset to be in winning this show. Don't have anything other than that. Don't fucking do it. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell somebody they're ready for a pro card when they're fucking not even close to it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do it. Right. But it's like at that point, he obviously has to have some understanding. Like, dude, we're here. Like, this is it. Like, get your fucking head in the game. Like, be focused. Like, we're going for this. You know what I mean? And I want your mind to be there. You're winning this shit. We're taking it home.
I think so. I think he told me straight up. He's like, dude, I'm happy with like a top 5. This is your first national show and you're super heavy. Like, that'd be badass. And then I think as we got closer, I was like, we're gonna fucking do this. And then like they were both like, yeah, we fucking are. Like, I think it was like because they knew I wasn't just like gonna come in like average looking. Like I was gonna look good. It's just at the end of the day, it was like, who's gonna come? Who's gonna do the show?
Yeah, exactly. Who else is there? Yeah, that's always the question. Nobody can change that. You know what I mean? It is what it is. That's a one X factor for everybody.
Like there could have been 5 more guys that were 15, 20 pounds more muscle and just shredded and just destroyed me, you know? And like,
and even every once in a while, even every once in a while now, you still sometimes get that guy too that shows up where it's like there is no Instagram, nobody knows who the fuck he is, right? Or like he's got like 600 followers or something like that, and all of a sudden he shows up fucking 245, fucking healed out of his goddamn mind. We had a guy like that at his show recently where it's like, and he didn't even compete afterwards. Walked in, fucking won the overall. He's fucking pretty goddamn fucking looked great, honestly, looked great. Like, I don't know why they didn't keep going and hit, a North American or something like that, because this was at the end of July. I have no idea what the story is behind him or anything like that, but he's also just not a very popular dude. He's a busy dude, works and just like, goes about his business. But again, people like that do show up,
Yeah. And I don't even think I knew like most of the super heavies I didn't even know until I did the show. I think a couple of them like hit me up before, like a week before. I didn't know anybody. I knew Brandon. I knew Tim Licata because he did PA2 and I'd known him before that, but that was it. Like I really didn't know. I knew more of the heavyweights than I did the supers.
Actually, I think it was 2017. I think it was 2017. It was actually the same exact show too. I the entire time and I'm like, yeah, dude, you're gonna fucking like, we actually got a legit shot at this. You know what I mean? And then fucking we're sitting backstage the morning of, and fucking Nick Walker comes fucking walking in. I'm like,
oh no.
dude. Yeah, like why did he post something about doing this fucking show? It was just that last minute qualification for him before he went to North Americans that year, I think. But either way, all right. So you guys are now talking, like everybody's kind of getting excited. Just give me a quick rundown into. I don't want to take up too much of your time, dude. But give me a quick rundown as like what is it like now, and especially for you because this is your first time being this big, this peeled. You thought you're going in as a heavyweight. Now you're a super heavyweight. Like what's going on in your mind? What's the communication like back and forth? But also, what's the process like going into that first show to get the qualification? Because you've never won a show at this point. You know what I mean? Like you're going into that show. And I didn't even know this until I talked to you at that show that you won the overall. You know what I mean? I saw you, we were in Starbucks or some shit like that afterwards. And we were talking about, and you're like, dude, this is the first show I've ever won. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. But you went in and you did sweep that show handedly. Like it wasn't like you didn't, and no offense to anybody that was there, but it's not like there wasn't a lot of questions. You know what I mean? I think everybody kind of knew from prejudge, right? That it's like, we don't really even need to see the overall. We could probably wrap this one up. We know you got it. Like it was a pretty demonstrative win. So like talk to me about what it felt like going into that and kind of what the process was for you to get peeled relative to any other point that you've been at.
Oh, well, going into PA, I was just like, I just wanted to get that over with. I was like, I know I'm going to qualify. I was like, I want to win the overall. I just want to qualify and then go to North Americans. So
did you know honestly, you were going to win the overall though, or were you kind of nervous in the back of your mind? Like, what if I don't win the overall? Like, what if I don't make that demonstrative statement?
I don't know. I was just like, I went in with confidence, but I wasn't like in my head like I've already won. Like I wasn't like that because like I'm like, you know how disappointing that would be to like And I feel
that's
like
my biggest issue.
A lot of people do that, and then they like their egos get checked. And I didn't want to be like in my head, like, yeah, I won this. Like, you all
100% me. I lose literally sleep the entire week going in because I'm like, if I don't do well, everybody's gonna think I'm a shit coach and I can't help myself and blah blah. I fucking destroy myself the week of the show. Absolutely destroy myself. But go ahead.
And I didn't want to just like destroy myself mentally for that. So, I won, and I wasn't even satisfied winning. I'm like, this shows nothing. Like I had bigger goals that I wanted to achieve. So I did that, and like I was like, all right, this is just a check in the box. Like you're going to North Americans, and that's where it really matters.
Right.
So, and then from that time to that time, I think it was like 2.5 weeks or something like that. Like it was fucking dig time. And like
so relative to into the PA Muscle Show, right? Versus the going into North Americans, how hard did you guys dig? Because I know you said you're like 75% at this point, right? 75, 80%, whatever the fuck the number is. The bottom line is you weren't there yet. You guys had this strategically planned to go into PA Muscle, not waste your best look, so to speak. But like, was there any point going into PA Muscle that you really felt like you were digging? Or was it just too much asparagus and your pee smelled like shit the entire time?
Felt like a little bit of digging. Like it was, I'd say that peak week, the first couple days were a little harder digging, kind of like, let's like pull all that glycogen out and like, let's get you real flat, and then fill you back out. So, it was definitely like at that point in prep, like technically being 3 weeks out from North Americans, like I was still digging. But from that time period of PA Muscle to North Americans, that's when it really like got even harder.
Okay.
Because there's like, so now we can't destroy you before PA. Like we can't completely wreck you, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's stay a little bit more reserved. We'll use that time of peaking you for PA to pull that fatigue down and like refeed you, you know? And then after that, we'll go into North Americans. Like, but I think even after, like I did a week or like a couple days of digging, and then he refed me back again, like probably like
before North Americans.
2 weeks out, like a day or two, and then he pulled me down. So and then I even think like 9 days before North Americans, he refed me one more time for 1 day, and then he dug me down even further for peak week. So it wasn't even like, I'm pretty sure he did. So it wasn't like, it was just like digging for 2.5 weeks straight. It was,
especially at your size, because
Yeah.
He knows, like, it's going to be that much harder to fill you out if you're not getting some,
And a muscle,
glycogen
it'll
in
fall
there at
off,
different
dude.
times.
It'll
Yeah,
come off of you if you're not if you're doing cardio like that and dieting like that and you don't fill it back out, the muscles are just gonna come off.
Mhm.
So it was more of like most of prep was like 3 days digging, 4 days digging, refeed for a day or two, or 5 days digging, 3 days refeed. Like it was mainly that thing, just rinse and repeat, and then
Yeah, exactly.
periods would get a little longer, and then less refeeds, and then obviously cardio would go up, and then heat would come down, and then the refeeds would just get bigger. So it was honestly smooth all the way up till like 4 weeks out was when it started to get hard.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't.
So, what do you think, like, as far as the lowest your food was at, right? Like, are you looking at your size? Are you looking at fucking like just a bunch of fish, a bunch of asparagus, and like some fucking couple meals a day of rice? Or are you guys spacing things out a little bit better? Like for you, where do you think the lowest your food got during that
It
North
was
Americans
like
push?
9 days out, 8 days out, because most of the time, even leading into PA muscle, I was eating like 300 grams of carbs, protein. I think it was at like 350, and fat was at like 60, if I can remember right. And then I think for like 1 day or 2 days, he put me down at like 150 carbs, and I was
Right.
like fucking dying.
Yeah.
I think that was as lowest it got, but that was like a day or two with that high cardio, and that was just him trying to like. I remember he did it, and then he posted pictures. He's like, "This is the most detailed but flattest look you have."
Yeah, flattest.
I
Yeah.
was so flat, but I was like super shredded.
Mhm.
And then so I remember that period because those 2 days sucked.
Yeah, I believe it.
It was just
Fucking
like
going to bed, just
concrete
starving
legs.
24/7.
I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I can get all these fucking steps in today. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like I'd go on a walk, and then Liana would be out there with Kane, and they would be like freaking 50 feet in front of me, dude. I was just like
Yeah, you're just like
dragging my
sloshing.
feet, moving.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is brutal, man. So like it did suck, but if you look how you need to look, it's gonna suck. And it's only like you gotta remember, like you just have to have a little mental fortitude with that. And
Mhm.
I think it's kind of just how good you want to do, is how much you're gonna make it suck. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
more it sucks, the better you're gonna look,
Yeah. So now, how early did you get into Pittsburgh?
You got to Pittsburgh on Monday, and I competed
On
on
Monday. Wow.
Thursday or Friday. I don't remember.
Thursday?
I think it was Thursday.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was Thursday.
I don't fucking remember at all.
Guys,
I might have got in there.
day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Thursday.
I think maybe I got in there Sunday afternoon. I don't remember. I think it was Sunday afternoon.
Oh, damn.
When did Cam get in?
I think the same day.
All right. So now, so you and him are there together, right? And he's actually putting eyes on you on a regular basis, and you guys are going through the process of filling up.
It's like
How
every meal.
often a day? Oh, he looked at you like every meal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like,
now, obviously, you guys stayed in the same hotel, and he's just coming to your room to check you out, and then he's telling you what to eat.
So I got an Airbnb, mainly because I want to cook food, but it was like literally a minute drive from my Airbnb to the hotel I put him in. And I was gonna do the host hotel, but it was, from what everybody said, I fucking asked Marina. She's like, "Oh, it's booked." So I did it.
I took his room, even though I didn't compete.
Oh, you did? You took his room?
No,
Oh,
I
you're
didn't
saying
take
like,
No,
yo,
she's saying she took it because she didn't compete. But
Yeah.
right.
she said, "Oh, it's full," and I was like, "Fuck!" So I got an Airbnb, and then I put Cameron in the hotel like right down the road, and it was just like literally a minute drive. It was like not even like a quarter of a mile. It was right there. So I would either go over there, he'd look me over, or he'd come over to the Airbnb. So, and I know it was like middle of the week too, so he just got clients all day, every day. So it was like, it's pretty easy. Like he could just be doing his thing, and then he'd be like, "All right, eat this meal, or train," and then he'd come train with me, and then he'd look me over after every meal. And then even as we got closer, man, it'd be like a meal, and then an hour later he'd look at me again, and then an hour later, and then an hour later, and I was like, "Oh my god, fuck this!" Like I'm just like,
like
I'm
you're
just
sick of
cold, bro.
posing.
I'm like, I don't want to take my
Oh,
clothes
yeah.
off anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Like I remember.
So now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said I remember we were backstage and like before finals, and he just keeps keep looking at me like every like 15 minutes. And I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, I'm fucking freezing. Like, I don't want to keep taking my clothes off. I'm trying to keep my sweats on as long as possible. Like, and it's not hot or it's not cold. I'm lean and I feel cold.
Now, were you surprised at how much you needed to eat going into North Americans? Like that week to fill out?
No, because I had been refeeding for so long. Hold on, I gotta show you something real quick.
I love Kane.
I'd been refeeding so much that I kind of knew.
You had a good idea.
Yeah. It was a lot of fat, that's for sure.
What was the peaking process like relative to PA muscle? You don't have to go into too much detail. I just want to, again, I don't want to keep much longer. I know it's almost 10:30 and we're taking up a lot of your time, but I'm into it right now.
It's 9:25 here.
Okay.
I don't have too much to do today, but it was fairly similar. Like, well, it was like kind of like
aggressive.
Yeah, ton of water up front earlier, and then obviously as you get closer, less water. And then obviously with that water, it's kind of like tapering. I mean, you know, tapering water down and then eating a lot of food, but it's like making sure you have the right ratio. And then obviously he like would balance like the electrolytes like sodium and stuff and magnesium, potassium.
So are you a guy on show day where you're getting how much water is he giving you per meal?
Oh, dude, it was like fucking nothing as we got closer.
You're no
I'm one of those guys that's watery, and I think it has to do because I'm younger. Like,
yeah,
I see so many like older guys. They're just like they don't have to do that shit because they have like such like dense muscle that's been there so long, and I have younger muscle that's like.
Yeah, I guess that's probably some of it too. I think it's like the
maybe
like
ethnicity a little bit.
Tell us on the what's up.
I said maybe ethnicity too, because I know like some black guys just watery and.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. How much how thick that skin looks is the best way I can put it.
Exactly.
There's some of us that just like we naturally have that thinner skin and that drier look, even during the off season. You know what I mean? I'm not even on anything, but yet I got the veins everywhere, and it's just fucking. I could be whatever 20% body fat, and I still have fucking vascularity everywhere. It's just that really thin skin versus somebody else, where they have a little bit of a thicker skin, they're rounder, probably they have a lot more, right? So, but again, it's just one of those things where it's like there's that, it's a 50-50. It's either the person's going to need some water with every meal or they're getting fucking nothing, essentially. You're just
Dude, I think the day before the show to the show day, I probably had like 40 ounces of water, maybe less than that. It was probably like 30. It was like nothing. It was like
so he's just giving you a couple ounces per meal.
Yeah, it was shitty, but I was dry. I was definitely dry.
Did you got any diuretics the night before?
Dude, I think the whole time we took like a third of a diazide, maybe the whole time. It was like, I think I took an eighth and then like a quarter. I don't remember. It was something. It was like nothing. I didn't really take that much.
An eighth? How the fuck do you even do that?
I would legitimately. Maybe it was.
I was gonna say I would legitimately be worried about how Marina's gonna break that up, and then she'd be over here with like dipping her finger in it. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it was 2/4. But I was like, dude, how am I gonna break this? I remember asking him that, and then he like did it, and I was like, okay, like.
Yeah.
But he.
So what time did that go in the day before?
I think. Yeah, I think a day before. I don't even remember, man. I think it was like midday, and then like the night before, I think I took a quarter more, and that was it. Yeah. So, but he was literally looking at me like every hour, every meal. So it was like he
asking how much you're pissing, yada yada yada.
Yeah, exactly. What's the color look like, or is it fucking black? It was clear basically the whole time. So we were good.
So tons of asparagus the entire time, right? I know that's what fucking you basically look like a fucking stalk of asparagus.
Just to like shoot water out, just like
just so it's not fucking dry air coming out.
Yeah. And dude, asparagus is great. Like I think just to lose water, like I mean, I think it's good for you just to like eat asparagus. Like I'm not gonna eat it now. It's so fucking expensive to buy it. Like it's ridiculous.
And honestly, I fucking hate asparagus. I really do. I'll eat it. It's
not that big of a deal.
It's cooked right.
I hate asparagus.
It's cooked right.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's gonna be.
I gotta cook it until it's like mushy. I don't like it like the
al dente. That's the
worst. The crunch.
That's the worst.
I hate the crunch.
You gotta make it.
You don't The thing that I hate more than anything else on earth is fucking sushi with the fucking asparagus in there, and you have that fucking crunchy fucking. Oh,
Dude, I
it's
don't think
fucking
I've ever
Oh,
had
it's
disgusting.
so
sushi with
good.
I
asparagus.
can't
It's literally so
stand
good.
that shit.
Dude, if
All
it's
right,
like,
so now, well, let me. Are you surprised at all by any compounds that are going in at that time? Like, did you guys use anything to fill you out, like any type of like orals to be able to fill you out more than like
I
Winstrol,
think
like anything
we
aggressive,
used
super draw,
super
any draw,
draw.
anything like that?
Yeah, he's super draw. I think the night before
Yeah.
and the morning of, or maybe it was the morning of. I don't remember. We used super draw.
Did you wake up during that nighttime at all, or during that first thing in the morning? Like, when did you really have that look where you're like, all right, dude, we fucking this is it. Like, I
Morning
fuck.
of,
Everybody has that point. Is it the morning of?
and then like after a meal, it was like getting better. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like that first meal just fucking went
I no
everywhere.
no
And
no. The
like,
night before, I would took pictures and I posted them, and I was like, shit. Like,
yeah,
I remember
couldn't
going to
stop. You
bed
couldn't
and
stop
I
going
was
back
like,
to the post.
dude, I was looking at that shit and I was like, damn. Like, I was like, I look fucking good.
Fucking saran wraps. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now prejudge happens. Obviously, you're backstage. You still getting those fucking butterflies, like the fucking heart racing a little bit. Like, where are you at backstage at that point?
Dude, I'm just
You're
honestly
looking at
like,
everybody.
I'm looking at other people and I'm like, wow, everybody's so much bigger than me. But I'm
Is
like,
that what you're
wow,
thinking? Yeah.
everybody's so fucking soft.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so at that point when you're looking around, because you know that's a natural thing, but like you really can't probably tell. Maybe at a super heavyweight you can, but like, if I'm backstage, I really don't even know. Like, is this dude actually in my class? Is that dude in my class? Like, who the fuck am I going?
Yeah.
But I'm
So they did.
obviously everybody's kind
So
of
I
surveying.
knew because, so have you been to North Americans before?
Yeah.
Or maybe this is how they do it at all national shows. It's the only national show I've ever been to, besides Universe, if that counts. But uh
Yes.
it was like
That's
they
spot
did it
on.
by weight class, and they'd line you up, and then they take you into the hallway. So it was like heavyweights line up, and then like so once all the super heavyweights are left, I know, and you can kind of tell who's going to be a super, who's not going to be a super. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
there
mean,
was
the
a lot of
super is like
masters
kind of like,
guys
yeah,
there too. So like I
right.
could tell who was masters and stuff, and um,
Mhm.
but once all the super heavyweights were left, I knew like who was doing it.
Right. So are you extra confident at that point, or are you a little bit more in your head?
I wasn't even like confident at that point. I was like, let's just see what happens, you know. But I did know, I knew everybody looked a lot bigger than me from like height standpoint, and just like they looked like more muscular. And then, but I was like, damn, like I am definitely leaner than a lot of these
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, like I just went on stage and I let it happen. Like I was getting mean bugged by so many fucking guys, and I was just like, why y'all so angry? Like,
Sometimes I wonder though if that's in our head or if that's like, see, it's probably different because I've never been a good competitor. You know what I mean? So I'm the guy backstage nobody's worried about. You know what I mean? Whereas they're looking at you and they're probably worried about you, and that's why you're getting mean mugged
well, that's
because they know you're going to
Cameron
be the
was
competition
posing me back there too. So he's wanting to look at me,
over and
but
over again. Yeah.
everybody's seeing, yeah. So maybe that's, I don't know. I really
I
don't.
also wonder when you have a coach like Cameron, that obviously everybody backstage knows who Cameron is. So like they're like, do they look at you a little bit more like in a smug, like I don't even know what I'm trying to like how I'm trying, but like I don't know, like a smug way, like fucking, like, oh, he's got that coach, and like, but you're also look at Peel, like, and he posing you left and right. Like, is it this kind of like arrogance almost like that they feel like you have that's coming off you? I wonder sometimes with that type of shit, because again, I've never experienced that. I wouldn't have that experience to be able to know that. So maybe because again, we hear that a lot from people, you know what I mean? Where it's like, the backstage or me bugging me, and like people are all looking at me, and it's like,
Yeah,
this
dude.
guy's saying this, that guy's saying that. You also get some people though, they're like, you're backstage and they're fucking chill as hell. They're cool, like, it's just, and then it like, or as you get closer and closer and closer to prejudge. Like I was at a show last year, maybe the year before that, I think, where I had somebody, and we did win the overall. And he was light heavy. Light heavy, I think. So it's like, he went, and there was a couple good heavyweights there too. So like, and obviously he beat everybody, but it's one of those things where it's like now when the competition's really set itself, you know what I mean? And you kind of know who you're battling at that point, especially in the overall. Like it gets a little bit more contentious sometimes, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I that's one that I guess I'll never fucking. I could only experience that through other people. But I just wonder what it's like having a guy like Cam backstage with you, and you're the guy getting posed over and over and over again. Like, are people looking at you like you're the rich kid? You know what I
Dude,
mean? Like getting all the fucking attention, shit.
dude, he was posing me. I remember before finals, like if you look on my Instagram, there's a picture of like in a hallway where everybody's lined up. Like we're supposed to be lined up, and he's like, "Come here." He's posing.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, yeah.
literally
Yeah.
all lined up, and
Yeah.
like he's posing me in front of all of them. Like,
Yeah.
like
See, that's
I
the
feel
one
like
thing
he
though
did
that
that shit on purpose. Like,
probably get in everybody's head shit.
yeah,
I do hate it when you're fucking like in line and like every competitor on earth is like, no, they're calling me in line. They're calling me. I'm like, dude, you got fucking 25 minutes back here, bro.
no,
Don't worry about it.
I was
Step
just like,
out, fucking
dude,
yeah,
they would call people up. Oh, like last call, like for line, and
And
they're
then you stand
finishing
there
my
for another fucking
tan.
half
They're
hour.
finishing my
yeah,
tan, like
yeah,
drying it
yeah.
off. Like, and I'm like, all right,
Cam's
now I'll
there
go.
telling you, but is Cam there telling you like, don't worry about it, dude? Like
Yeah, he's
you're
like,
good.
dude,
Like
just go.
yeah.
And then they're lined up in the
So
hallway, and he's posing me. They're literally going backstage to like line up backstage, and he's like still
yeah,
looking. He's like, and then I didn't start pumping up, dude, until like a couple guys in front of me were already on stage. Then I like took my honey, took my salt, and then
yeah,
I started doing push-ups. And I was like, because people are pumping up, and I'm like, dude, you're not getting on stage for like 20 more minutes. Like, you need to
yeah,
do it like
easily.
a couple minutes before you step on stage. Like
That's the
a
shit that still
minute.
blows my mind. It's like I don't.
Yeah.
These are things that still blow my mind. You still see people at these shows fucking pounding jelly, like fucking 2 hours out. They're fucking pumping up like legitimately, like backstage trying to work out, like just to keep themselves busy and shit like
Yeah,
that.
no.
It blows my mind. But obviously, you have the benefit of having your coach there, and he's basically just keeping you fucking chill and fucking pose a little bit, drive some into the muscle, but like
Yeah,
don't blow your load.
exactly.
You're not that fully loaded. Yeah, you'll fucking lose that pump relatively quickly. So now wait, what was my question? I just had one. Oh, how much salt and honey is he giving you? Obviously, you don't know how much honey he's giving you. How much salt are you getting at that point?
I think I
That's the
was
other thing that
doing
I
like,
love. People are always like, "Oh, you want this fucking disgusting." How much did you get at that point?
dude, so I remember I had a meal probably like an hour before I went on stage, and then it was like, he's like, all right, have some almond butter, some honey, and salt. And it was good because I'm fucking hungry. Like, this
But
is great.
but he just said some salt, or do you know how much you got?
No, he told me. I think he said a salt pack. I think he said maybe 2, 3 salt packets, whatever it
That's
was.
right. He goes by the packets. Yeah,
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 because
yeah.
it's easy to
So
measure. Because you'll
right.
imagine weighing out a fucking
Yeah,
shakes of salt. Like, you're gonna fuck that up. And once it says
yeah,
a gram, you don't know if that's a gram and a half or what. The salt packet's the same every time. So I was
yeah.
like,
That's
I
true.
took that, and then he's like backstage. He says like, he's like, here, just take this honey with you. And then I left it backstage, and then like as I gauged it myself, I'm like, all right, I'm about to go on here in like a couple minutes. Just fucking took the honey, took the salt, dude. That shit right before you step on stage, that makes you pop. And like,
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Still, it's like people are like, salt prior. Like, who put salt in immediately prior? Like, you're supposed to be depleting all that salt. Like, no salt prior to the stage. Like, yada yada. You're gonna retain water. All this different shit. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up, man.
yeah,
Like, just
dude,
drink the fucking drink.
that honey
Just drink
made
what
a
I'm fucking
difference. But
giving
I
you.
wasn't eating like crazy shit like jelly. Like, I was just eating. It was just honey.
Yeah, no, and you
And he
did it when
had
you were
sweet
supposed to
tarts
do it.
and stuff just in case he needed like extra shit, and Rice Krispie
Yeah,
treats just in case. I'm just
yeah,
one of the, in case I ended up being one of those freaks, because he never like did a show with me, that
yeah,
I needed like a ton of fucking food, like some black guy that
yeah.
just eats fucking carbs after
That's
carbs.
what we'll make sure. Like I always have like something like Rice Krispie treats, coconut water, fucking potato chips, something like that on hand,
Yeah,
or literally all of it on hand, just to make sure that we have it if needed. And if it goes to
yeah.
waste, it goes to
Because
waste. Who
some people
cares?
are like
But
that.
you
They're
have
just
to
gonna
have it.
like burn through it. Like, I'm sure
Yeah,
Kennedy was one of those guys that like needed a ton of food. Like,
yeah. And then it's also one of those ones too where it's like with the salt, you never know. It's like, do I need to give this person a little bit? And then again, I might do that through some sort of potato chip or something like that just to get a little bit more in there and then hit with a little bit more prior to the stage. Versus somebody else that might get just a quarter teaspoon of salt going on stage. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it all depends. But all right, so so obviously for you, it seems like it was almost like a pretty steady shot. Now, would you not? I would say steady shot, but you know what I mean. Like it wasn't anything that seemed like overwhelming at a certain point. I'm sure there was moments for everybody, right, where it's like it comes in and goes out, but like for you, it seems like you're pretty even keel going into it. There wasn't any like dramatic, like I don't want to say surprises, but there wasn't just like this moment of like, oh shit, like now we're really on the gas pedal, except for a few days here, a few days there. But again, it seemed like you were pretty even headed going into it. You had the right support system, literally walking onto all the way up to walking onto the stage. But now it's one of those things where obviously you win your pro card there, right? Like you're like I just want to kind of cap it off with the reality of like how much do you think all that? And obviously, again, support system, the amount of muscularity you put on, all that different shit was there and in place, right? But like the time frame was kind of supposed to be the overarching theme of the podcast. How much do you think the time frames, both from starting with Cam all the way to actually competing. And then again, through that competition prep too, having a 40-week process. And I don't know, I keep saying 40 weeks because I'm pretty sure that's what Cam said. I think when we looked at your thing,
40,
it was legitimately set you up 40 weeks out. I'm right. So now, so yeah, and then 40-week contest prep. How invaluable do you think those timeframes were, both for the entirety of you stepping on stage, obviously the muscle you build, and then obviously the 40-week contest prep itself?
Dude, I think that was kind of what made it. Like obviously you got to build muscle to get on stage, and like it's one thing to like get on stage and compete, but it's another thing to like get on stage and like win. It's
Be
and that's kind
competitive,
of like
yeah.
to like just hop ahead real quick. Like that's what we're doing now. Like I guess I could do a show the end of next year, but I don't really want to. I'd rather just wait till 2026 and like go on stage and be like, okay, he could probably win a show, rather than just like, all right, let's do a pro debut and like hopefully you get top 5. Like I don't
Yeah,
care.
at least have that kind of buzz going into it. Like it's his pro debut. Like
Yeah, I don't
everybody's
care to.
excited to see like where is this person going to end up?
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to win my fucking pro debut, and like that's how I'm going into it. Like whether I win it or not, but like I don't want to just do it to like, get your social media going. I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So now, and just to touch on that real quick, obviously you're down there, and I see you guys have been with Jordan a lot, Jordan and his wife a lot,
yeah,
right? So shout out to Jordan. You got to get us in there too. Maybe we get Jordan on the podcast here. I know he's
yeah,
close now. So,
yeah.
yeah. So now, with him there, obviously because he had, I don't want to say a similar road to you as because I don't know what his process is like with Chris. It's totally different situation there, but obviously, fucking, he is a newer pro on the circuit. I think this is his second year, right? If I'm not mistaken. But like he took his time from his pro win, from getting his card to his first pro show. Right. So it's like, is there obviously you guys have that kind of connection, you guys have that kind of friendship, but is he also supporting you with that thought process of like, dude, take your time, do it when you're ready? Like, what's that relationship been like so far down there and supporting you through that process now?
Yeah, dude, they're all about it. I mean, I think him and Brandon were just like, you could probably do a show late next year, but like, um, I told him, I was like, dude, I just think the best bet is wait until like end of 2026, do a show, and whether that's qualify for that year's Olympia or the next year, like that's the goal, and I'm saying that as like that's the goal, whether I
Right.
do it or not. But I don't know, just they've been great about it. Like I know Brandon's probably going to compete sometime next year.
Mm,
Jordan's competing, he's doing Chicago, and then whether he qualifies there or not, he's going to do a couple other shows. Um,
mm,
so that's like his timeline. So I think, I mean, just being around like other bodybuilder, like good bodybuilders, I think has made like a difference. Um, One, we can train together, and then like two, it's just like being around like-minded people, kind of doing exactly the same thing you do, or like where you want to be. It just puts you in a good position rather than like, you're like a professional level baseball player, but you're playing with like high school kids. It's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know what I
So,
mean.
and do you think honestly, from like your process leading into getting the pro card relative to what your process is like now going into the pro show, honestly, do you think that is like the big, like it's not like Cam came to you immediately after you got your pro card, now you're on fucking 2 grams a test, you know what I mean? Or some sort of like dramatic change to what you guys have been doing from like, because I think that's how some people think, especially the younger guys. Like now you're pro, so now you have to take 5 grams a year round. Now you have to go up to
Oh,
12 IU's a growth hormone. Now you have to train 2 days, 2 times a day, or some crazy shit like that. Like as if something changes. Like, do you think that honestly the biggest change that you made here is being in the position that you're in? And obviously, from a lifestyle perspective, it's a big change going from Jersey to Dallas Fort Worth. But I'm
yeah.
just saying, like from a professional bodybuilding career perspective, do you think the biggest addition to your arsenal going into your pro show is the people that you're training with, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and just kind of the mindset that you've been able to be in 24/7?
Yeah, I think it's that, and then more of like the big picture's already there, the like the structure's already there, all that's already there. That's what got me to get my pro card. But like it's like the little things, like it's like now it's like, all right, we need to make sure meal timing's good. Let's make sure we have exactly these amount of meals before we train. Sleep. Let's make sure sleep is like more than optimal. Let's get like 8 9 hours. I say that and I got fucking 6 hours last night, but whatever.
Yeah, we both.
Like let's make sure sleep is Kane, stop, is more ideal than what it needs to be. Let's make sure like it's just like
You're being a
all the little
professional.
things.
You're
It's
being a
all the little
professional.
things.
Yeah.
Like let's make
Yeah.
sure every set we're getting to where we need to with like intensity and failure. It's just like all the little things that you're going to compound over and over and over, you know, like I took a lot of the habits I built in prep, like that being my first prep, you could say. And then I brought them into my off season now, you know?
Right. So now for you in terms of making money, because that was one thing that I wanted to touch on earlier and I just forgot. But in terms of like, you weren't the guy, you were working hard, like you said, going through that process of, building to get to the pro card. But obviously you had a job that was intensive, military, blah, 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 blah. But now at this point, I know you left the military for people that don't know. So like what are you doing right now as far as like keeping yourself busy on a day-to-day basis in terms of work?
OnlyFans.
Nice.
No,
That's what I'm talking
no,
about.
no.
I want the link.
No, right now, I actually still getting paid by the military until mid-June. I think actually
Nice.
I'll get a paycheck until like July, which is it's nice.
Sweet.
But obviously I have a little bit of online coaching I do, make extra money with that. And then next week I have an interview with Lockheed Martin. Hopefully getting a job with them. I'm not gonna say
What the fuck is that? What do you do there?
It's like the defense contractor. They make F-35s, build all sorts of weapons for the military.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that is most likely going to be my job. It's a quality position, so I can't really talk about it, but it's just
Gotcha.
making sure like quality is in like making sure procedures, whether it be like putting a part on a jet or like uploading some kind of software to it, making sure it's done step by step properly. Obviously, this is aircraft, people fly it,
Yeah.
kill somebody, and it's very expensive
Yeah.
equipment,
Of course, yeah.
being sold to either other countries. Kane, no, get out of there.
So you're saying you're behind. So you're saying you're behind supplying fucking jihad with all the fucking weapons they're using to blow us up, and then like, I don't know why that came from. All right. So now, and the only reason why I ask, because obviously you do the online coaching. We'll plug that here at the end. But it's one of those things where like you're still like you're not like you're not the guy that's living off the Instagram reels and fucking a supplement contract and like popularity and all that. Because nowadays, and I know a lot of people like, well, of course, dude,
I think most people need
pro yet.
Get that out of their head. Like,
yeah,
they don't, you gotta, dude, like I could fucking break my leg tomorrow and then like, I'm never gonna make money off bodybuilding, like I could be done with bodybuilding. Like people got to get that out of their head. Like you need to have some kind of career and you need to have like things in your life in check before you think about like even making money. Like people got to just stop thinking about doing bodybuilding to make money, because it is literally the
so
worst
opposite
to fucking make money. Like it is such an expensive sport. It is the most like, it's the sport that causes the most inconveniences in your life. Like it makes your life 10 times harder. Like you got to stop thinking about making money with bodybuilding. You're not going to fucking make money with dude, there's people at the Olympia that barely make any money with bodybuilding. Like unless you're
every
like
single year,
very like
every year
popular on social media and like you have like very good sponsors that pay you because you have fucking an absurd amount of followers. And
which is, I think that's what people think. They think that they're going to get into bodybuilding nowadays. They're going to get all the followers, right? Like I can think of a client that we have under another coach, and like he's just obsessed with like posting and like, oh, but like we can't don't post this. Like, oh, this has got to get edited, yada yada yada. I'm like, dude, what? Shut the fuck. You have 600 fucking followers. I know I'm trying to build my following. Shut the fuck up. Like we don't. That's not. Shut up. Shut up.
Dude,
like that's
bad.
not something that's real.
I see that a lot
at
in my gym too. Like it's like the amount of like focus on social media is just like the worst thing. And like, yeah, it's a good tool to help you there, and it's kind of like your resume as a bodybuilder, I could say, like having all that there. And it gives other companies that want to work with you leverage. Like I have a lot of like, I'm athletes with a couple companies, and like I make a little bit of money, and like I make a lot of money off fucking commission with companies from selling shit. But I don't get paid a ton. Like I don't have a fucking $10,000 supplement contract, like Nick Walker does, or like Justin Shire probably has. I don't know what they make, but I'm just saying, like, I don't make that much money with like, and I've had companies offer me like $1,000 to work with them a month. And like, but like, I like working with Aries, you know, and like until I guess something down the road maybe comes a lot better than that, that's worth it, you know. I'm not gonna like sacrifice a company that like Pat takes care of me, and like I'm not gonna go work with some company that has fucking bogus supplements to make $1,000 a month, which is nothing to me. Like unless the money was really worth it, I'm not gonna take it. Um, so but people got to stop thinking that way, man, because like I know there's influencers out there like my friend Luke, you know, Luke Elsman, that does like all those like
Yeah.
skits and
Yeah.
stuff, but he's not really a bodybuilder. He's like more of an influencer, but he makes good money now because of what he does. Like how he puts all that, and he's got a lot of followers and stuff, and like he makes money that way. But like being a bodybuilder and making money, it's really like if you have a YouTube that takes off, you know, you can make
Yeah,
money
that's
from
one
that.
way. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, if you do have a big Instagram or TikTok, you know, you could make money by like companies wanting to pay you that way. But really, at the end of the day, man, like these companies aren't paying a shitload of money like you think they are, unless you're like Nick Walker or like Hottie or like Derek. You know, like those guys are getting paid money. They're really good competitors, and like they're very, very popular.
Yeah, they also don't have to do shit. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to do shit. Like if Nick Walker just wants to post a picture of himself every day, and
Yeah.
then in his story maybe has a thing in his contract where he's got to post a Celsius link or something like that once in a while. You know,
Dude,
that's it.
people,
That's all he's
he
got to
probably gonna get
do.
like 50, 60 sales off just that, you know, like
Exactly,
he's got
because he
such a
literally has 1 million followers. So like he literally throws shit at the wall, and it's like, and it's no disrespect. You know, I'm just saying he's got that followership. You know what I mean? Where it's like literally throw shit at the wall, and if 50 people end up doing it, what people have to understand is like, dude, you don't need a fucking ambassador code because you're never going to have 50 people use that ambassador code for the lifetime of that fucking ambassador code. It doesn't fucking happen. We see it all the time.
yeah.
We have enough codes with different companies, and like Elias, you know because you're within that same team as us as far as Aries
Yeah.
is concerned. And you know how the code usage shit works. It's like there's so many people that's like you get one sale a
Like
month,
people would
one
think
sale a
like,
month.
right, I got like 17,000 followers, right? Tim beats me in sales like every fucking month with
Yeah, and it's
and a
different
lot of
because
that's
obviously we
like
have an
clients,
influence as far
but
as coaching. Yeah.
still kills me with sales because like even from my influence as a bodybuilder, I don't make as many sales. Like people don't realize like like
Yeah. The best,
that, like that.
literally the
Just because
best,
you
because
have
I
a
also
shitload of followers means like, oh, like you're
nothing.
gonna
Yeah.
be this crazy good salesman. Like I
And
know
because
I know people that are with
I worked, go ahead.
you can finish, you're good.
I was gonna say I've worked on the other side of it too, where we're hiring influencers and we're giving them codes for a company that I worked with. And it's like literally, I'm not exaggerating. Some of the people with the largest following, right? But they're getting that following from either fucking, I don't know, fake people that they're buying or whatever, potentially, or just because they fucking have a fat ass and a thong or whatever it is. The bottom line is they'll post things and it's literally the same shit where they're getting like 3 to 10 code use a month. And then I have somebody else that only has 8,000 followers, but because they have a connection to those followers, and they're that person
Yeah,
with 8,000
that
followers
makes the
doing
difference,
fucking
man.
50 code usage, yeah, it's insane.
And I
But
think
again,
that's like Nick. I think that's Nick because he's popular and he's like got a big influence on who follows him. So he probably Nick sells very well. And then like I know this girl that's with Raw and Revive, right? And I know Cameron's with Raw and Revive, right? Cameron obviously makes a lot of sales because he's a coach and like he sells a ton of product from what he's told me. But he knows like these girls that got way more followers, 70, 90,000 followers, right? He's
don't
like,
do
dude, they
shit.
don't sell shit. Like they don't sell
Mhm.
anything, you know, and like just because you have all those, like it's really like I don't know. And then people
Well,
think they're gonna make all this money. I don't know, man. It's
Well,
just
the other point that I was going to make though too is if you're going to invest your time in something like remember bodybuilding, like you said, it's a very inconvenient sport. It does require a lot of time, like we've been talking about on the podcast in general. The other thing is when you look at a guy like Luke, and I don't know Luke personally, so I don't want to speak for him, but like that content creation shit, especially when you are doing it like Luke, where there's videos that like you're not just popular enough as an individual to where you can post a picture and get 1 billion likes. Like you actually have to put work into growing your shit, and like you have to get picked up by the algorithm and the way that whole thing. Like, dude, that's a job in and of itself. Like that
no,
content
dude,
creation like
Luke,
takes hours upon
yeah.
hours a day to be able to do that shit. Like it's not easy
Luke is
shit. It's
like
really not.
nonstop doing that. Like I've been to the
Yeah.
gym with Luke and we trained, and then it was like, all right, dude, he's there for like another hour and a half making videos and stuff. And like I get it.
And
Like
then
doing it to
and then it's
he
another
makes
3 hours editing and shit. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And then like
Yeah.
he just does like quick little skits, so it's a little quicker. But then like these people that make like YouTube videos, they don't realize that 20-minute, 30-minute YouTube video that's edited a lot took like 8 hours of editing, you know,
I
and whether
saw
they did it
Jordan's last
themselves
full day
or they
meeting.
paid like $1,000 to get it edited, you know.
Yeah. Do you know who edited Jordan's last YouTube?
Dude,
Did you talk
Jordan
to him
edits
about that?
all his shit himself.
But like that's what I'm saying. The bottom line, his YouTube video is like 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Where I know if I did that, like there's nobody would fucking watch that shit. Like
Dude, and
he'll
that's
probably
what
get the
steered
views
me
because
away
because
from
of his
doing
following.
YouTube. Like once
Yeah.
I start this job and like the pay is pretty good, I'm gonna hire somebody to start doing that for me. Like I'm gonna have
It's
film
expensive, man.
and then I'll hire somebody to do it because I can afford it. Like, but I can't do that with my time. Like I don't have
The
the attention
problem,
span to edit a fucking video for 8 hours. I can't do that.
yeah, exactly. I can't do that. Period. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have no clue how
Yeah,
to do that shit.
and
But the
exactly
problem with
that
it,
too. I don't know. I'm not that good at it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but
The problem with it really is like the cost, the cost required to have somebody do it for you, and the limited return on that investment that you get for like the first year, 2 years that you're doing. It's almost like you're literally just throwing money at something and hoping that you get a return from it. We learned
exactly.
that the hard way. We spent a shit ton of money, and we'll still do it. Don't get me wrong; it's just been a time thing for me. But like, we spent a shit thousands of dollars on our YouTube so far. We have 97 fucking followers on YouTube. Like, it's literally
Dude,
like it's all been money.
not
Like,
that
I think
easy.
we've gotten like fucking 2
Oh,
clients from YouTube so far. So like literally there's just not that you have to really have that time and money to invest in it, very similar to bodybuilding,
yeah,
to be able to get it
exactly.
done. But listen, we've obviously we appreciate all the time that you've given us, dude. It's been a long fucking podcast, but it's been a good one, a good conversation back and forth. So I appreciate it. But obviously we'll let you get out of here. What is there anything you want to say to finish? And then after that, go ahead and plug yourself in terms of where people can find you as far as your coaching is concerned, being somebody that can follow your process into your pro show, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, just I appreciate you having me
OnlyFans
on.
link.
I like doing stuff like this. I like getting my
Yeah.
name out there, and I just like having good conversations with like I've known you and Marino a while, so I like doing this kind of stuff. But other than that, you can just find me at Elias McCall _ on Instagram. YouTube, I think, is the exact same. There's not nothing on there, but like one short. I'm gonna get more stuff on there, but and then coaching. If that ends up being anything you guys want to do, you can shoot me a DM, or there is a application you can click on the link in my bio on Instagram to get you there. And then all other discount codes and stuff are just in my bio as well. You can go directly there, click on any of the links, and then the discount code is on there already. But
Sweet.
Yay.
that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for chatting with us. Had a great time. Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to share with somebody, give us a like, and we'll catch you guys next week.